welcome everyone to another Ronald Diltz II podcast. I'm super excited to have this amazing, wonderful individual who I've been so blessed to know and blessed to work with. He's very dear to me and my family, and I know he's going to share a lot of great things with us. Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Bruce Jarman. How you doing, sir?
All right. I'm doing wonderful. Great. Couldn't be better.
Couldn't be better. I love to hear it. Now, something really special about you that I just have to tell our listeners, you're the one responsible for marrying me and my wife, Monique Diltz. How does that feel to be responsible for that, you know?
Well, seeing how wonderfully you all have made that unique bond, such a special thing, so that everybody is a part of your process and the journey that you've been on. I think it's probably one of the most, special marriages that I've ever performed, as a
Oh,
pastor for over 39 years.
wow.
Yeah, that's really special.
Yes, sir. It's truly special to us as well, and we're grateful to have you and to be blessed to have you a part of our lives. So super excited about this. So let's jump in. We're going to jump into some of these great questions. Again, we're getting to know you. You know, who is Bruce
Okay.
Jarman? You know what I'm saying? So
All right.
tell us, where did you grow up, and how did that have an impact on who you are today? More so, and of course, I want to know about everything that you've done, but more so geared towards the entertainment industry and what you're doing now.
Okay. Well, I think just my childhood altogether, was really unique in that my father was in the Air Force, and of course I eventually joined the Air Force myself once I went to college and was there for about a year and decided that I was broke and I needed money, and I um, went on and opted to go on into the Air Force. But growing up an Air Force brat, we were stationed in Boise, Idaho, is where I was actually born. And so the first 3 years of my life was in Boise.
Okay.
And then we moved to Orlando, where my mother's home was, where she was Mrs. Jones. She was Miss Jones High.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is her hometown,
Wow.
Orlando. And my dad ended up having to go to Vietnam, and he was there for about 2 years, and when he came back to Orlando, then we ended up of course we lived, I don't know if you're familiar with the hood. We lived over in the Murchison Terrace area,
Okay.
right behind Murchison Terrace, the apartments, their homes, and we lived on Hegway.
Okay.
That's right down the street from the L. Claudia Allen Center.
Okay.
And
Gotcha. I know that
yeah,
center. Yeah.
exactly,
So I'm
exactly.
thinking to myself, I know, I was like, I know my parents would know,
Yeah,
but so I'm trying to think. But when you said the center, I was like, oh yeah, okay, I know what
yeah,
area you're talking about now. Oh yeah,
exactly.
yes sir, yes
Yes.
sir.
So yeah, the L. Claudia Allen Center was right
Wow.
down the street from my home, and had a lot of good memories over there. And afterwards, my dad got stationed to uh, um, let me think of that Air Force base, Richards Kabauer Air Force Base
Hmm.
in Missouri, and so we we moved to Missouri. We were there for about another uh, two two years, because I was in kindergarten in uh, in Orlando, and
Okay. Well, you've been here.
then
Yeah.
yeah. So when I went to Washington Shores,
Okay.
uh, um, for kindergarten. It was actually a church,
Hmm.
and you know, some of my friends from high school were actually, met me in kindergarten,
Mm.
so, or should it was probably preschool then,
Hmm.
'cause I don't even think I was in kindergarten here. I was in kindergarten in Missouri.
Okay. Gotcha.
So yeah, I was in kindergarten and first grade in Missouri, and then we moved back to Orlando, and from that point on, second grade through high school, from Orange Center Elementary School, Grand
Mhm.
Avenue Elementary School, they started busing, and we ended up being bused to Grand Avenue, taken out of our neighborhood and into a white neighborhood. Grand Avenue was a white school. At that time, we integrated um, uh, Grand Avenue, and
Wow. Okay.
and then of course I ended up going to Howard Middle School. We integrated Howard
Wow.
because
Wow.
we
Okay. A lot of history here. I love it.
yeah,
Man, hey, that's a movie already. You got a couple movies right there just dropping. You're dropping on me right now.
yeah,
Wow.
we integrated Howard, and matter of fact, I think your dad, he went to did he go to Memorial? I think
I
he
feel
went to
like he
Memorial.
went to, I thought it was
No,
Howard
no, 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 no,
myself.
no. Your dad went to Howard.
Yeah, I was like, I
Him
remember
and your mom.
Howard coming
Yeah,
up. Yeah.
him and your mom both were at Howard with me. You
See,
know.
there you
Yeah,
go. In case y'all
yeah.
didn't know,
So yeah,
Bruce
yeah,
has history with my
yeah,
family.
yeah. That's right.
Oh man, that's the history. And I was just thinking about this one thought, but I know I'm jumping the gun because I want to keep us here where we are. So I'm getting too excited.
Okay.
So but yes, the history with the family. What did you consider yourself wanting to be when you were a kid? Did you ever think about I want to do this, I want to do that when you were around those years as a child? Did you ever think about what you wanted to do back then?
I've always wanted to entertain.
Hmm.
I've always wanted to. Ever since I was a kid, even at Howard, um, I was if they had anything that allowed me to get on the stage and show out,
Yes. Oh yeah.
that was something that I would do. So when they had talent contests, I would make something talent and just get up there on the stage
Right,
and
right.
and try to compete with people who had real talent, and I would do pretty good. I was a martial arts expert um,
Wow.
by the time that I was in the eighth, well, actually in the sixth grade, I was a black belt, third degree,
Wow. Wow.
in kung fu.
Man,
Shaolin kung fu.
that's
So,
amazing.
I would enter uh, talent contests, and there was a song that was real popular, back then. It was called "Everybody Is Kung Fu Fighting." Everybody is
Yeah.
kung fu fighting, so and I would play that song, and I would have my nunchucks,
Oh,
my
whoa, whoa.
my long staff, my rice sticks, my I would have um uh my yeah, well, the long staff, the rice sticks, oh, and my sword, my bushido, my bushido
Wow.
blade.
Wow.
And I would put on a real show. I mean, and
Oof.
I'd take off my shirt and and I'd go at it. And back then I was, for a little kid, I had little muscles and stuff popping out. And so it always,
Man.
and my name was Bruce. So
Wow.
Bruce,
Right.
was
Right.
favorite. So I always saw myself from that point. I always saw myself being in a movie like an action star,
Woo.
just an action hero.
Good to
And
know that.
yeah, I had never seen any a black person in martial arts, and and I was really, really, operating at a high level. And in kung fu, which was very different because uh, most people in the 70s were in karate,
Mhm.
karate, taekwondo, aikido. They were not into kung fu. Kung fu was relatively new. And
Yeah. Wow.
if you know the story behind Bruce Lee, was that he got into a lot of trouble with the Chinese because he was sharing kung fu with Americans, and
Wow.
they didn't want kung fu to be shared in America.
Wow.
Ancient Chinese secret,
Wow.
So
Wow. I didn't know the
yes.
story behind that. Woo. It's news to me. Oh
Yeah,
man.
yeah. So Bruce Lee actually brought kung fu to America, but to
Wow.
most people, he brought kung fu to America on the big screen, and
Hmm.
that's where my influence for wanting to be in movies came from, was having an opportunity to be able to showcase my martial arts the way that
Wow.
Bruce Lee did, but as a black man,
Hmm.
And
Yes.
so even Jim Kelly, who was he was a karate expert. I felt like, I still stand above that because I'm bringing kung fu like Bruce Lee. I'm like,
Right. Oh man. Busting the
yeah,
move on them. Busting
oh
the
yeah.
move on. Wow, man. That's amazing to hear that. See, this is news to me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even know all this information about you.
So, so,
You know what
so
I'm
let me
saying?
tell you what happened. Let me tell you what happened. So, I got my first opportunity at Jones High School.
Hmm.
Um, uh, there was this guy there, a little young guy. But he was actually a year ahead of me. And my sister, who was Miss Jones High,
Oh,
Terry
oh,
Jarman, she was Miss Jones High 1979, I think. 79.
mhm.
She was Miss FAMU 1981.
Wow.
So she was just following in my mother's footsteps,
Hmm.
and that took her that far. But uh, she would tell me about this guy when I was at Howard. She said, "There's this guy. He is an incredible actor," and uh, and Miss Foro has started an acting class at Jones High, and
Mm.
and the band, the orchestra, everything is involved, and you just got to come and see him and watch him. And so I went to a play, and I saw uh, this young actor perform, and it was amazing. I mean, it was like, back in those days, um, we didn't really have a whole lot of entertainment, a whole lot of
Hmm.
places to go. So, so the whole city would show out
Wow.
or show up to Jones High School performances. Like, they were like, that was like the thing to do. And
Mm.
and so I was amazed by this guy's ability. And I was like, man, he really is a good actor. But I didn't have the acting buzz at that point.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until I got to Jones High and I joined the choir. Everybody thought I was going to join the band because at Howard, I was the first Black drum major at
Mm.
Howard. Yeah, I
Wow.
was.
Wow. You just got a lot of
Yeah,
firsts going on, man.
I was the first Black drum major. So, they thought that I was going to actually, you know, come to Jones High and get in the band and
Mhm.
run for drum major. But when I got to Jones High and I saw that there were so many women in the choir that it didn't seem like it was that many guys. And
Right,
I was like,
right, right.
comedy. I,
It was
I
a
joined the
done deal.
choir.
It was a done deal.
Seemed like all the pretty girls was in the choir.
In the choir.
The rough looking girls was in the band.
Oh,
No, that's not true.
that's not
But
true. Don't get in
I
trouble
got
on
it.
here now.
Yeah, I will. I'll get in
You
trouble.
don't get in
Because
trouble.
I'm sure if any of my classmates watch it,
Oh man, they
they'll
gonna
be
be
like,
listening.
"Oh, what did you
Right. Hold on now. You're gonna get some phone calls.
Yeah,
Oh man.
but so what happened was this young actor, he was now a junior,
Mm-hmm.
and I was a sophomore, and he heard that I knew Kung Fu.
Mm.
And there was a play that they were doing that called for uh, a martial artist.
Oh,
And
okay.
so they didn't care whether I could act or not. They just said, hey, you're going to be in this play. And
Mm.
I was like, well, I don't know. And he was like, no, man, really, you really need to be in this play. And I was trying to play hard to get but the truth was, I really wanted to act with this guy because he was
Mm.
he, he was just that talented. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I actually had the opportunity to act with him, uh, they gave me a fight scene where like maybe five guys attacked me and I
Wow.
just dismantled them all,
Wow.
and so afterwards, this guy, and you're gonna trip out when I tell you who this guy
I
was.
I already know who the guy was. I'm just waiting for you to tell our
Oh,
listeners who he was. I heard this is a different version of the story, but I've already heard about the legend who
oh,
came through. So I'm from Orlando. You already know.
oh,
I
yeah,
already know. But the listeners, they need to know. But you go
okay,
ahead, continue your story. I'm
okay,
not gonna
okay,
interrupt.
all right. So,
This is
so
great.
what happened was he after uh, we would rehearse, he would, come up to me and he would say, "Hey man, show me some of that kung fu stuff." You know,
Wow.
I'm kind of interested in that, man. You doing some real interesting moves. I really want to get into that. And and so after rehearsal, I would spend a little time showing him some, different moves and things. And I like to think that um, I inspired him to
Mhm.
want to become a martial artist. And
Yeah.
because at that time, though he had mastered a lot of things, this young man could sing,
Wow.
he could dance, and he was a true actor.
Mm.
And his name was none other than Wesley Snipes.
Wesley Snipes. Man, oh
Wesley,
man. This
yeah.
this I haven't heard a story like this one right here, man. This is yeah, I knew who you were talking about, but man, to hear from your perspective, you know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Because my parents had to let me know when their son was interested in theater at Evans High School. What happened at Jones? They had to let me know what went down at Jones, of course. But no,
All right.
but to hear it from your perspective that you actually had the opportunity to work with Wesley on stage and even to do the martial arts. And I'm just thinking about all the martial arts movies that came in his career. And just to
Yeah,
know that he was inspired by you, on that journey, you know what I'm saying,
yeah,
in the early days.
yeah.
That is just amazing, man.
Well, I think he was always interested, but uh, he had never. That was something that he had never ventured into, and having an opportunity to be able to see somebody firsthand, and
Right.
I don't think it was, karate wasn't what he was interested in. I think he was more interested in, in Chinese martial arts. And
Gotcha.
so, karate is a Japanese martial art.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, Kung Fu is a Chinese martial art. So if you've ever gone to a karate, uh, a karate uh, type of exposition, or better yet, any karate matches and stuff like that, they have them. And it's a lot different from Kung Fu. Kung Fu is like a very well orchestrated dance, but deadly.
Mm.
A deadly dance, and
Yeah.
when you see karate, there's a lot of things that you can't really see because it happens so fast, and it's like,
Right.
but in Kung Fu, you can see everything. You
Mm.
know,
Yeah.
every move
Interesting.
precise.
Wow. Man, y'all, our listeners, y'all missing the action here. Make sure y'all check out the YouTube video to see some of that. Man, I
I think I
I see.
almost got caught in my headphones. My
Right,
headphones
right.
poked me out.
Uh-oh, uh-oh. Yeah, don't let the headphones take you out over there. Wow. This is amazing, amazing, amazing. So this is some history for me. So that's amazing to hear. So yeah, man. Wow. Some stories there. So yeah, I've never heard it from your perspective in that way, and just learning more, and how all of that transpired. So, but yeah, that's amazing. It goes back to high school. So we got a little in common, besides the martial arts, of course. I
Okay.
you ain't taught me nothing yet,
No,
saying so we got to work on that.
that's that's gotta be, before I get too old and I can't do nothing.
Yes, sir.
And then I won't be able to do all of those kicks, and I might be able to do that two-finger punch.
Uh-oh, uh-oh. I know about that. Uh-oh. Say, keep that away from me. Keep that away. Well, yes, man. That's awesome. Awesome to hear. So moving along from here, let's jump into some other questions. What would you say is your favorite movie at this point? I know we talked about Bruce Lee, but what would you say is your favorite all-time movie? If you have one. You can give me your top three if it's too hard to name the only one. I
My
usually say the top five.
my favorite movie would be The Matrix.
Okay, okay. All
The first,
right.
the
The
first
first
one.
one. The
Yeah,
first one, right. The first
yeah.
one. Oh man, that's a good one. Why would you pick that one? I mean, of course it's amazing. I know that for a fact. But why is it your favorite though?
Well, Neo is one spelled backwards, and
Whoa. Look at
uh,
that.
so he was the one,
Mm-hmm.
and he was representative of Jesus Christ, and
Mm.
uh,
Wow.
Morpheus woke him up
Amen
to
to that.
who he was.
Mm-hmm.
The power that he had, and he believed in him, and he
Mm-hmm.
knew that he was the one.
Wow.
And once he believed it, once he understood it, once he knew it, then he was able to master not only all of the various skills and things that he needed in order to be able to defeat the agents, but he was able to master himself
Mm-hmm.
and to help others so that they would be able to, and I think at the end when he flies, that's like, yeah, you know,
Yeah. Wow. Like, right.
yeah, it lets you know that hey, the sky is no limit.
Mm-hmm.
You can go as far as you want to go. You can go as high as you want to go, and you can do exactly what God intended for you to do while you're here
Amen.
on this earth, and that's wake a whole lot of folks up, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
I, you know maybe I'm getting ahead of myself now, but that's the reason why I have chosen acting at this stage in my life to
Mm-hmm.
pursue full time. Um, and this is perfect timing. You are so perfectly timed. Uh, because there's some things that occurred that put a pause
Mm-hmm.
on my acting career, and rightfully so. I needed that pause in order to be
Nice.
able to, gain, uh, you know, an, uh, the right perspective on um, how this should go, from here.
Mm-hmm.
But my whole goal um, has been to uh, be able to have a very meaningful role that would allow me to uh, help somebody to just wake
Nice.
up,
Mm-hmm.
and to see things the way that they need to see it in order for them to be able to unleash their powers,
Mm.
and to
Yeah.
become who God would have for them to be,
Amen.
and
Mm-hmm.
being a pastor for over 39 years. Um, and once a pastor, you're always a pastor.
Right,
People
right.
always ask me, whether or not, where I'm at now is where God would have me to be. Yes, yes. Do
Mm-hmm.
you understand what time we're in? We're in a time now where we've got to try to impact people where we are and in ways that they have not been impacted before.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that well, I'll let you ask the questions. I'm not gonna
Hey, I'm
proceed.
listening.
I'm ready to go, man.
You ready to go? Well, piggybacking off on that, because
Yeah.
that was something too. Of course, I'm all for your acting career because when you decided to make that decision to step down, you had already been in two of my short films. So I was like, okay, all right, I need to get my stuff ready to go. You know what I'm saying? But what was some of the, because you kind of mentioned here, did you get a lot of feedback from your close friends and those that were actually your members that you would worship with and actually minister to every week? Did you get a lot of flashback from them when you decided to step down and make that decision to pursue acting full time?
Well, okay. Let me just give you a brief synopsis um, of my history. Uh, we stopped at high school. Of course, I went to college briefly. I went on a track scholarship
Mm-hmm.
to Florida A&M from Jones High School, and I got in trouble at Florida A&M, and um, um, it made me think about what I really needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, I'm going in the Air Force, and I did. And so I spent 6 years in the Air Force, and I got out. Um, I didn't like the fact that there wasn't a whole lot of opportunities. At that point, I didn't have. I was able to get uh, my associate's degree, but I thought I was going to be able to finish school when I was in the Air Force, but under the GI Bill, I was able to go ahead and get my bachelor's degree once I got out. And so I went to International Seminary and uh, got my bachelor's degree in theology. And I felt like I really wanted to be a greater impact to my church. So I went back to school and got my master's degree in religious education. But let me back up. When I got out of the Air Force, there weren't a whole lot of opportunities, for me. And I was, taking care of my wife and I, we didn't have any children at that time. That was 1987. My daughter was born in 1989. And in 1988, I joined the Navy.
Wow.
So I did 4 years in the Navy.
Wow.
6 years in the Air Force, 4 years in the Navy. I was stationed on the USS Antrim in the Navy. After getting out of the Navy, now I was in the Navy Reserve, so I only had to do, a weekend, and then, of course, you have to, do a whole week at some point, after you've, but you do your weekend. And I thought that was pretty cool because the naval base was right there in Orlando. That was the reason why I joined the Navy. I didn't want to be back in the Air Force and do the reserves because I was pastoring a church at that time, but I wasn't making no money. I needed, I needed some money. So, but during the time that I was in the Navy Reserve, I ended up going into law enforcement. So I um, I was at Orange County Sheriff Department. I graduated from J.C. Stone Police Academy. Wow. And was in law enforcement with Orange County. I was there in Orange County for a couple of years, and then I didn't like Orange County at that time because that was like, bad boys, what you doing?
Right.
Wow,
right?
And it was just hard. It was hard.
Yeah.
I said, let me go someplace where it's not as, and I was in Sector 4, which was a, Orange Blossom Trail, some of the areas where I was
OBT.
at, it was busy all the time.
Yeah.
And I found myself having to struggle with my, my convictions. But I didn't want to just leave law enforcement like that. So I went to another agency. I went to Apopka PD, and I was with Apopka PD for about three years at Apopka PD, and still pastoring in the church. I would on Sundays. It seems like criminals take a break on Sundays. So
that's a good point.
My sergeant would always allow me to, go to church. So I would leave Apopka, go to church, put on my robe. Nobody knew I had a gun on.
Wow.
In the pulpit, I'm packing, I'm loaded.
Oh man.
But and of course I was struggling with my convictions. And I just eventually just said, hey, I can't do it anymore. I left Apopka PD, and I became an investigator for the Department of Juvenile Justice. And I did that for a couple of years. Decided that even that was, just crazy, because now I'm dealing with crazy kids. And
that's a whole nother crazy.
so I decided that I better just go ahead and go full time in the ministry, and I did. And of course, making that decision, at that point, I still wasn't really, in the church. I don't know, maybe nowadays people think that they can, a preacher make a lot of money, yeah, if you TD Jakes, but if you just out here preaching the word of God and you trying to help folk to be who they need to be in Christ and,
Right.
get them saved, no, that's, you got to have real passion, real love for God. And, uh, and it doesn't pay. You're gonna get paid in the end. Got a lot of benefits, but
Mhm.
not that much pay. So, so I decided that I would go to work as a hairstylist because I
Mhm.
always did hair. As a kid, I used to do my mom's hair. My mom would say, and I only did her hair because I had me a little afro and I'd be plaiting up my hair, and and my mom would say, "Well, come in here and plait mine," and do her hair, and so I had gotten to the point where I knew how to cut my hair real good. By the time I went to college, I was great on cutting my hair and guys' hair in the neighborhood, so I didn't need to go to school to learn how to cut hair. I already knew how to cut hair. So I said, I'm going to go to school and learn how to do women's hair. And
Mm.
I'll be able to do everybody's hair then. I can do black hair, white hair, anybody's
Wow.
hair. Sit down in my chair, I'll get them.
Mm.
So that's what I did. And,
Wow.
for a couple of years, I worked with your mama. We
Oh yeah,
worked
history.
I worked with her. She was with her shop where she was working at. That was one of the first shops that I actually worked in uh,
Mhm.
when I came out of school, when I graduated,
Wow.
and you know, and that was a real blessing for me because I went from I was saying, hey, God, I'm just believing you, I'm trusting you
Mhm.
to be with me because I gave up law enforcement. I gave up all of that. But now I had no income and I wasn't about to beg. I never asked my mom or dad for anything. I had two children at the time. And I remember this real, I'll tell you this story very briefly. My daughter and my son, were both in diapers.
Mm.
And my wife came to me one night and she said they don't have any milk. Now I would I would go out and preach on the street corner
Mhm.
in Orlando. I probably preached on every street corner. I would preach in the rain. I'd go door to door and knocking on doors and passing out flyers and giving my card and introducing myself and telling folks who I was and letting them know where the church was.
Mhm.
I'd set up Bible studies in their homes, and and we would have several Bible studies going on all over town in different areas of the city, and started out over in um, uh, shucks, I can't even remember. Well, Franciscan apartments, but they're not Franciscan anymore. But that was the name of the apartments. And Crossroads Apartments was where and I think it's still Crossroads right over there off of Old Winter Garden Road.
Okay,
But
yeah.
we would have Bible studies and things like that, and get the folks acclimated to the ministry, and then disciple them in and bring them into the church, and so that was how we started, and uh, from that point on, it was. But again. wasn't no money in that. You know, it was just pure passion, uh, you know, pure desire, you know, God leading me and, you know, me answering the call just, you know, at a very young age, 19 years old when I started preaching. I started my first church as a missionary in España, in Madrid,
Wow.
in, um, you know, just, you know, 20 years old there in Madrid, Spain. And, you know, and God bless that work. A lot of young people, a lot of young people. Lo habla español perfectamente. Lo vivido en España para 4 y medio años. So,
Wow.
authentic. Lo, uh, lo habla español perfectamente. No
Mm.
hay problema cuando yo hablo.
Wow.
Yo,
Wow.
yeah, so my Spanish is good. You know, when I speak to Puerto Ricans and Mexicans, they be like,
Wait a minute.
yeah.
Like, hold
So
on.
I was a missionary. That
Wow.
I ain't nothing to play with now, boy. I ain't
Yes,
nothing.
sir.
You know, I'm deep in this thing, and but when I got back to the States and you know, and realized that you know, it was going to take a whole lot more financially because now I had children and all of that, and it was you know, that was a responsibility, and so that's what put me in law enforcement, and I didn't want my wife to have to work at that time because we had these young babies, you know,
Right. Right.
and you know, and I just didn't trust nobody with them. I wanted, you know, I wanted her, and she wanted to be there with them. So I had to do what I had to do in order to make that happen for her and
Yeah.
and for us. And so when she told me this, that you know that the kids didn't have diapers and you know and didn't have you know needed some milk and all of that, and you know my parents would have helped me or anybody in the church would have helped me, but I just took that you know responsibility very personal. And I prayed and I asked God. I you know I was like God, I don't know what to do, you know. And the Lord said, well, what do you have? And I said, I don't have nothing, you know. And He said, everybody's got something, you know. But I said, well, I don't. He said, "Well, what do you have?" And I said, the only thing I got is my clippers, my,
Mm.
you know, my barbering tools. And the Lord said, well, take them out with you when you go
Mm.
witness, when you
Mm.
go out and share. So I had I would go out and I had my little bag, my little attaché, and it had my clippers and all of that in it. And I'd knock on doors and I'd share with folks. And this one day when I went out, and on the day that my wife said that the kids needed milk, and you know, and I cried and prayed and asked God what to do, and He told me what to do. I didn't see how that was going to work, but
Mm.
after I got through inviting the guy to the church, and he said, "No, man, I ain't interested, bro." He said, "What's that? What's in that bag, bro?" I was like, I said, "My clippers." He said, "What you cut hair?"
Oh, oh.
I said, "Yeah, I cut hair." He said, "Oh, okay, all right." He said, "Well, you cut my two little shorties hair." He said, "If you do good on them, I'll let you cut mine."
Mm.
And I cut his kids' hair, and then he got his hair cut. Several people saw me cutting his hair, and they asked to get their hair cut. And
Wow. Wow.
the next thing I know, I was cutting hair until probably about 11, 12 o'clock that night.
Wow.
And and when I came home, I had diapers and you know milk
Right.
recently.
Wow.
And
I needed to hear this story, y'all.
thank God, I got it.
You got it now.
What I can
Oh,
do. I'll never work for anybody ever again. And
wow.
uh, and I really meant that. I didn't. I mean, if it wasn't for me teaching cosmetology,
Mhm.
and I taught in several schools.
Man.
But beyond that, I would not have. I wouldn't have done it because I made a living. I was able to send my daughter to college. I would have sent my son too, but he just didn't want to go. You know,
Mhm.
he had kids, and it was necessary for him to go to work.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah, he
Understand
afforded
that one.
his expense. So,
Yeah.
but was able to take care of my family that way, and through ministry, and that has really been my source for life, and until I got here. Till I got here in
Mm.
this city, in
Mm.
Atlanta.
Whoa. In
All y'all folks
Atlanta.
just think about coming to Atlanta. Stay home. Stay home.
Stay home. Stay home. Wow, right? Wow. What a journey. I mean, I'm like, when you gonna get your movie produced, Pops? Because I mean, this you got a life story here. You got a TV series with all the stuff you don't did,
You
man.
see, you can't have a story to tell
Man.
until you become somebody worth listening to. Right?
Whoa, that is
Don't
true.
nobody know me. Don't nobody know. Now,
Hey,
when they know me, then they'll say, well, where he come from?
right. Where you come from? There you go.
Yeah,
I
so
didn't even
that
know all this. But now I know. So now I know. Case closed, right? So with all of that you've told us, now you're in Atlanta, right? What's your biggest passion right now? I already think I know the answer, but tell us, what would you say with all the history you have? What would be your biggest passion in life right now?
my biggest passion in life um, is to be who God called me to be,
Amen. Oh yeah.
to live my life to its fullest potential,
Mhm.
and to exercise all that uh, God has given me to express, you know, um, to allow that to actually reach others in a way that it inspires someone, that encourages someone, and that it helps somebody to, you know, come to grips with who God is, and why they are, and and to experience the joy that God expects for all of us to experience. Jesus said that I came that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. I
Amen.
think sometimes people think that, um, the abundant life is the abundance of things, but, that's really not true, because things don't make you happy.
Mhm.
Better yet, things do make you happy, but they don't fill you with joy. You
Right.
know, um, Things make you happy, but happiness is based on what happens. You know, Joy is something that comes from within. And I have joy every day, every day. I'm full of joy, you know.
Mhm.
I'm joyful in that, you know, my uh, in 1989, my daughter was born, my first child. And 1990, my son was born. Um, and in 1995, or better yet, 1998, my wife was in a terrible accident. Terrible accident. She broke her femur bone in 3 places.
Wow.
And she suffered a traumatic brain injury. A whole lot of people don't know about that. And within that, there were some dynamics that even I didn't know about. And so, and they didn't become more evident until latter years. In 2000, my father died. And 3 months after my father died, 2001, because he died at the end of 2000 in December. In 2001, in February, my mother died. And she was 65. My father was 67. In 2022, my wife committed suicide. And, again, traumatic brain injury, causes people to have, different issues that, they're the most normal, but at certain times, certain things can be kind of out of whack. And, and so there were a lot of things that were going on, and that had been so far from 1995 that I never, ever was able to put those things together. I would just say, girl, you crazy. It was more than I knew. And so March 2022, at age 65, my wife committed suicide. And I had been up here for probably about a year. I'd worked on Saints and Sinners. I had worked on a couple of movie projects, and there was one other television series. I can't think of it right now, but that kind of brought everything to a sort of a grinding halt.
Right.
And so I haven't, I came back with the intent to actually get back started, but within the first 2 or 3 months of me getting back, my agent passed away, William Reynolds. I was with the William Reynolds agency here in Atlanta, and he had passed away, and he made a lot of promises to me, and a lot of things that I was really looking forward to, and all of that was all gone. So I took a break. I'm still kind of on that break because I went back to work. I had some challenges with lupus prior to coming here. Lupus actually took my sight. I was blind for 3 years.
Wow.
And, just got my sight back last year.
Mm-hmm.
um, in February of last year, and when I got my sight back, man, you know, that was like a brand new day. I
Mm-hmm.
was able to see, and I you know, got back to work in December of last year. And I decided I wanted to do something different. I didn't know exactly what, but I got an offer uh, to become the uh, bereavement chaplain and the uh, volunteer coordinator for Pruitt Health Hospice. So I work with folks today who are in transition, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and with their families and with the patients, and it's so rewarding.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
so rewarding. But just recently, I began to feel that urge to begin to start putting my attention back on my acting
Mm.
career, and so this interview comes at a very good time for me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Wow. What a journey, Pops. What a journey, man. And I'm just to hear all that and just to see you, still here, smiling,
Mhm.
living
Oh,
life, the life that God has for you, and just to see how God is taking you through all of this, and now to be able to share that experience, in this new gig. So, but yeah, man, you got a lot to share with the world. So we got to keep going. We got to keep going. You got a whole lot to share with the world. I'm looking forward to that, man. How did you get your first, I would say, big opportunity as an actor? Tell us about that experience.
um, I started out with a RISA talent agency. That was probably back in 96, you know, or 94. Yeah,
Hmm.
in 1994. My kids they were still pretty young. Um, and but I felt like I had waited long enough, that I hadn't, done anything. And one of the big things that coming from Madrid, Spain, I had been over there for about 4 years, and one day I was watching uh, a video because we didn't watch a whole lot of the Spanish television. We would get videos. People would send us videos from the States, and I was watching a video of it was a movie called Wildcats, and
Hmm.
and I was looking and I was watching and I was like, man, that guy looked like Wesley. And I kept watching it, and I said, no, I think that's Wesley. So I had to wait until the end of the movie to make sure that that was him.
Hmm.
And when I saw his name come down in the credits, I was like, oh man, he did it.
Oh, he.
Oh man, he did it. And in my mind, there was nobody more deserving
Mm,
because, this industry, a lot of folks don't know this. This is not the easiest industry for
mhm.
you to be able to make it in. You know, if you love to act, that's wonderful. But um, at the end of the day, it's not a given that the door is going to swing open, for you.
Yeah.
Um, when they say break into the industry, you really got to break in to the
Mm,
industry. And, and there's a certain way to break into the industry. You can't just walk in. You gotta find a way to capture somebody's attention.
right, right,
And,
right.
so that's just a whole nother story. But
Hmm.
seeing him made me believe that I could do this. I can do this. And, and his sister um, was actually, one of my clients. So, I was like, man, I gotta do this, once I, made it back to Orlando, and now I was a hairstylist and everything. And Wesley's sister came to get her hair done one day, and I would do her hair. I had a salon even at my home, so she would come to the house and get her hair done, and just doing her hair made me think about the fact that I should be acting. I really should. So,
Yeah.
I went on and uh, you know uh, joined Ariza Talent Agency, and I went to um, their school. They had a school for acting and modeling, and so I started out as a model, and I did things on with Disney World and for the Orlando Sentinel, and a lot of different opportunities, modeling and all of that. But my first big break came when they offered uh, me an opportunity um, to do some work on a commercial for Disney World.
Okay.
And once I did the commercial, I decided, hey, I need to try to get closer to the back then Universal Studios, MGM. A lot of the major studios were in Orlando, and so I decided that I was going to do security at Universal Studios, and
Wow.
so I knew that as a security officer, I'd have access to the back lot, and I'd be able to go back there and see what casting companies were there, and how to get in contact with them and all of that, and what they were actually casting. And so I started out just doing hair and makeup.
Wow.
That I went back, I gave cards, to several of the casting agencies, and I got a call. There was a television show called My Brother and Me, and I went out and I did. It was uh, uh, there was a episode where they needed haircuts that had designs in them. I was the guy that did it.
Wow. Wow.
They brought me to come and cut their hair, and yeah, I cut the designs in their head. And
Wow.
uh, and from that, I ended up getting another call to uh, this was before Shaquille O'Neal uh, had ever cut his hair. He had hair back then, and he was doing a 7 Up commercial, and they called me to come and cut his hair. So I was
Wow.
on the and to cut his hair, and when he came, he already had his hair cut. Matter of fact, he was bald headed. He had cut all his hair off because nobody was going to be able to cut his hair. So he cut it off,
Wow.
got there, and he was like, "Hey man, you here to do my hair?" And I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Man, I already cut it, but help yourself, man. Stay around." He shook my hand, and his finger went all the way up to my elbow. I was like, "Let go of me." Uh, you know, uh,
Oh man.
and then I went to work for this. There was from that, I had an opportunity to work with a photographer who did the headshots and all of that for a lot of the stars.
Mm-hmm.
and for different artists, but he worked in the backlot at Universal Studios, and so he contracted me to work for him. And when I came and started working with him, he was like, man, you kind of got to look yourself. He said, why are you behind the camera? You ought to be on the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I like doing what I'm doing. He said, man, you ain't gonna make no money doing this. He said, you need to be, in front of the camera. And I said, okay, well, if I get an opportunity, and he gave me a card and, told me some places where I could go. And I ended up uh, going to Ariza, went to school with Ariza, worked with them for a while, and got on a lot of different things. Like I was telling you, it was through them that those doors opened. I was on. Uh, I did some, uh, just background stuff when I was with them on Swamp Thing, and that was way back in the day. And there was a couple of other shows that I did uh, that was out there on Universal's backlot, and and then I ended up with Bailey's talent agency, and worked with them for several years, and did a lot of work with them. Worked on the movie Instinct. Um,
Okay.
so, you know. Went to New York and did it. Had an opportunity. I actually had the not the starring role, but I had a lead role uh, in a production there, and I just to get me to call off. I wouldn't. I can't even call off names of things that I was in, but
Mm-hmm.
because it's like a list of things that, and
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That
that's,
history of yours, we already know. What would you say for those actors that are interested in linking with a talent agency? What would you recommend, for them? What should they be prepared for when it comes to searching for a talent agency for themselves?
well, there are a lot of folks out there that are, really, shysters, and and are out there to take advantage of folks. Um, and uh, uh, but you'll learn even a lot of things even from them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when they are asking for money,
Right.
9 times out of 10, that's going to be, something that, is not what you want to do. Agents are supposed to make money when you make money,
Mm-hmm.
and, not before then. And, and nowadays it's pretty tough to even get, uh, an agent that'll take you on. So you just have to, be very selective, when you're choosing, and if they're asking for a whole lot of money right off the bat, you know, um, don't don't go for it. Um, I think the best thing that you should do is, try to find somebody who is doing good work as far as photos. You need a headshot, very nice headshot, and not just something that you had somebody else, to do, or you took a selfie or whatever.
Right.
But you need to get invest in a photographer that knows how to take industry headshots, and you can see their work and see what they've done. And then once you have your headshots, and but I would suggest, even before getting an agent, you know, trying to get in and where you fit in, do some auditioning, some cold reads and things like that. When you have an opportunity, you see something that, is available, work with some of the colleges and, that in schools that, so that you can actually, get some experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can start building your resume on different things that you've done. And that's what's going to get an agent's attention, that you
Gotcha.
actually have experience. You
Gotcha.
have to have a resume and a headshot.
Mm.
But believe it or not, like here in Atlanta, uh, there are ways in which you can actually get on the set of certain productions, just by you know uh, you know uh, being in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Just you don't have to audition for that. You just sign up, and
Right.
they'll if they're interested, they're not going to ask you for a professional headshot. They're going to ask you for just a selfie. Um,
Mm.
that's not touched or anything like that, and and you're applying for or better yet, you're submitting for a particular role to be cast in as a just someone in the background. But
Mm.
sometimes
Okay.
those folk are identified from just being in the background. You know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So
What advice can you give those that maybe are interested in acting and want to get started? I know you mentioned, trying to connect with whatever resources you have, audition wise. Is there any other advice you can give those that may want to get into acting?
Um, yeah, like I said, I think it's always good to do your research. Um, there are a lot of good books that are out there that that offer a lot of good information, and give you a lot of good leads on different outlets. Um, I used to have a list of agents
Mm.
from friends that I know that are in the business, because once you get out, you're gonna start talking to people on the set, and
Mm-hmm.
they're going to tell you what agency that they're with,
Gotcha.
and or whether they're with an agency at all. I used to meet so many people who didn't even have an agent, and
Mm.
they would, because once you maybe even contact a casting agency directly, there are casting agencies that you can go to directly and get listed with them, directly without an agent. So it's not necessary always to have an agent. Uh, a lot of people think the first thing that they want to do is to try to get in the union,
Mm-hmm.
but that's the last thing that you want to do, because
Mm.
once you get, and the fact is, you can't get in the union until you've had a speaking role on a union project.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's something that'll come later down the line. So you want to try to get in on as much independent opportunities as you possibly can before you even think about, uh, trying to get out there, because, uh, these people spend multiple millions of dollars uh, to make movies.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not going to waste that on somebody who doesn't know nothing, and who thinks that they, can act. I see a lot of folks who feel like, oh, I could do that. And once they are under just a little bit of pressure, they forget all the lines. They're only,
Yeah.
can't even remember a lie. So
Right.
yeah, you need to, try to do some work on your own first before
Yes,
you
sir.
go out here trying to jump out here with the big boys because
Mhm.
there's sharks out here for real, for real.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I believe you. I believe you on that. So I have this this amazing memory of preparing for an audition. Happened to be we had Full Sail, of course, for this audition, going up these steps and seeing you preparing yourself to come in and audition for one of my short films. Uh,
Mm,
you've been You've been it's only I think a couple actors who's been in more than one of my projects, and you just happen to be one of them. I think it's only two of you to be exact, and you're one of them. Tell me about that experience working on two of my epic films, my last short films, Painted Black and Fallen Fruit. Tell me about that experience. Tell our listeners about it.
well, first of all, you're an amazing director,
Thank you.
um, and and an excellent writer. I can't wait to work with you again.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
because I know you're even more awesome than you were before. Um, now that you've got some other credentials behind you in writing, I'm like, wow, I can't even believe you could get better. So yeah, I can't wait, to see
Yes,
what
sir.
you've got cooking. But uh, working on Painted Black, um, was really special, for me because I had an opportunity to uh, bring in, a young actor who really didn't even know what his, own capabilities were,
Right.
and you know, uh, uh, but that was a blip. Matter of fact, both times I was working with young actors who did,
That's
yeah,
true. That is true. That's
I
true. Look at
was
that,
there.
right? Yeah. Look at
Yeah,
that, man.
but that was really it was fun. It was awesome, and just uh, the cast, working with other actors, interacting with them. That in itself uh, is the thing that you just it's infectious. You just want to you just can't get enough of that. I got to get back to that.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, that was an awesome experience for me.
Very special. Special for me as well. And I can't wait. I can't wait for us to be able to reconnect on a new film project. So that and we're into the features now. So I'm super ready for that. so, so
Now, even though I played a father in both roles, but they were two different,
totally
you know,
different. so
totally
different.
different characters.
Ain't that crazy?
And
Crazy.
that was an awesome stretch.
Wow. Right.
I was more than happy to try to bring to the you know to life what you had written.
Yes, sir.
Those things were that's always what's more meaningful to me is being able to get into character,
Hmm.
to be able to become that person, that character, uh, um, to be able to bring that character to life. That's the exciting part, for me. You know.
Yes, it's nothing like that. And you brought those characters to life beyond what I could create on paper. so you brought them characters to life for
All
real,
right.
man. So
Yeah.
such an amazing moments with both of those films. So how can our listeners check out some of your work now? Do you have anything that's out there that we can possibly check out, or any website, social media? How can we check out some of your work?
Well, no, not really, other than the fact that, the 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 movies are out there. You know, uh, I think Saints and Sinners is still in production. I was in season 6 and
Mm.
about 3 episodes of season 6. I
Wow.
think
I got to go back and do some homework on that because I didn't even know that one. So you're going to have
yeah,
me getting into that.
yeah, season 6, the last few episodes. The first, I think it was uh, episodes 1 and 2 of season 6, and actually 1, 2, and 3. So you just kind
Gotcha.
of have to look for me. You see
Yes,
me
sir. Yes, sir.
acting and
Uh-oh,
being
uh-oh.
bad and being bad. I
Uh-oh,
had a
uh-oh.
fight scene. I had a fight scene in
Oh,
one.
okay.
Yeah, that I was prison. I wasn't just a prison guard. I was actually the sergeant.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was my responsibility to actually tend to uh, the some of the main characters. And when they got into a fight, I had to actually break it up. In one critical scene, we went through the rehearsal of how everything was supposed to be, and when uh, the director, said action, everything changed.
Mm. That's
It
just
wasn't
okay.
as we had rehearsed it.
Wow. Wow.
He was putting up a little bit more opposition than
Yeah.
what we had rehearsed, and I was
Yes.
I'm gonna have to put up just a little bit more opposition than what was rehearsed. And next thing it was an all out brawl for real. And they had this like cut. We both got
Hmm.
hurt.
Yes.
We got hurt because he was like, man, I was trying to give it a lot more realism. And I was
Hmm.
like, well, yeah, well, you should have told me that before you did that, because
Right.
I didn't know what was going on.
Right. Right. Right.
And I
Wow.
was a little bit bigger than he was, so
Oh.
all the camera saw was his feet.
Oh man. Look at that. That's so crazy, man. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Man. Well, I want to thank you once again for blessing us with your presence. This has been truly, truly a blessing to have you on my podcast. You were someone I've been wanting to get on here since I came up when God put the idea to start a podcast of my own. I
Wow.
definitely wanted you to be a part of it. So thank you. Thank you so much for being such a blessing to me and my family. I've been so blessed to work with you already on 2 films that were dear to my heart. And I'm looking forward to, of course, working with you a lot more as we continue. Any final thoughts you want to leave with our listeners before we wrap this up, Pops?
Well, what I would like to leave, I think, on a serious note, would be um, mental health is a very, serious issue in our country, especially within the Black community. And I would encourage people to, when you see someone acting, strange and out of character, because life is real. We're on the realest stage every single day, even though a lot of times, things we don't take, so personal, we don't take so serious, but life is very serious. And when if someone, makes a threat or, says something that, is just out of character, take that very serious. And I would encourage people to, really consider, counseling, spiritual counseling. If you have a pastor or someone who is a professional that can, really sit down and help someone through a mental crisis, because we're not all always equipped, to be able to handle, situations, when they occur, and especially, I would think, as men, a lot of times, our wives, they go through a lot, they deal with a lot, and they have a lot of emotional things that do, begin to wear on them. And, I think, we should all just be just a lot more, cognitively aware of, what's going on, with one another mentally, you know.
Very important, man. That's just a very serious and beautiful topic to share. We definitely need more of that. I'm seeing it more on my end, as being a
Yeah.
husband and a father here on earth, as we say.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it's definitely important for us as men to make sure we're taking care of our mental health so we can be the best that God wants us to be for our family. So I'm learning that more and more, Pops, and need your prayers so I can be the best. But thank you so much. And wow, thank you all for tuning in to another great podcast. Stay tuned for more great episodes. Definitely check out Bruce Jarman. All right, check him out. All right.
Hey, the best is yet to come.
Amen to that. Blessings to everybody.